when I received the invitation to come and speak here today, and of course they told me the theme of Instigate, I couldn't help but think of my mom, a champion at instigating and of challenging the status quo. Sadly, I missed the "it's good to challenge people" memo when she insisted I wear a hockey helmet and my poofy blouse, which I think is an ascot there somehow. Anyways, attempting to skateboard. I was a late bloomer. So I was raised by this woman. She's a cultural anthropologist, a language revitalizer, and a brilliant advocate for First Nation rights. Growing up, my mom would throw my sister and I over her shoulder and bring us to really rural, remote communities. Most of these communities had about 2 or 3 speakers left of their dialect. And recognizing the value of language and the profound value of language in identity and dignity, and the need to protect these things. She didn't just witness and document, as many academics do, but she sat with elders and she would listen and she would learn, and she helped those elders reteach their language to their community. And ultimately, she built the largest collaborative, community-based Indigenous language program in Canada. So one of the many valuable things she taught me, it was really her commitment to follow through, her commitment to doing whatever she could for her colleagues, for the Indigenous communities. They had been burdened by so much deep systemic injustice and inequity, but she was committed to doing whatever it took. And that really had a deep impact on me. And so it was really from her that I got a real aversion to complacency, and luckily a love of art and of music. When I was not on the road with her, I grew up singing in choirs, playing in orchestras, playing in bands. It was that feeling of really being in a group of people, that collective, each of us really doing our best to make this one beautiful piece. There was always lots of bodies, lots of people, lots of sound swirling around me, those goosebumps, the spine tingle down your back, that magic of collectively making something beautiful made me feel quite human. And so with a few twists and turns, lots of practice, moved to Montreal, I ended up playing with this ragtag group of musicians, the band Arcade Fire. And everything that came next was completely unexpected. At that point, I never would have imagined as a child growing up in the 80s that I would get to play Girls Just Want to Have Fun on stage with Cyndi Lauper. Or the insane electricity of playing Saturday Night Live with Mick Jagger. Or just the sheer magic of a sea of 80,000 people singing along as you perform, looking over the sunset at the Coachella Valley. But throughout all this, there was another incredibly powerful thing going on, and that was really the genesis of our work at Plus One. So the lead singer in Arcade Fire, Regine, is Haitian, and early on was really committed to giving back to Haiti. So everybody in Arcade Fire, she was given this book, and then everybody in Arcade Fire was given a copy of the book Mountains Beyond Mountains. I don't know how many of you in this room have read it, and if you haven't, absolutely, please do. It's funny, because everybody seems to be having a book here. I don't have a book, but I'll sell that one. So there's also a new film coming out called Bending the Arc, which you should all see. But essentially, we all read this book, Mountains Beyond Mountains, and it's the story of the founding of the organization Partners in Health. And Dr. Paul Farmer, and Ophelia Dahl, and Jim Kim, and these founders were just extraordinary people. And I should also mention that it is an extraordinary privilege for all of us that Bepi Raviola and Père Eddy from Partners in Health will be speaking this morning, and so we'll get to learn a lot about it. But there was something extremely powerful about the story of their work. They were the first people to treat AIDS in areas of poverty when the rest of the world was saying, it is impossible, it is too expensive, there are no structures in place. They said, We're going to prove to you that it's impossible. And in fact, there was something quite punk about what they were doing. They were like, that, I'm not going to do what you tell me. And for me in particular, Dr. Paul Farmer, who you see here, the co-founder of Partners in Health and a mentor of mine, like my mom, was really a model of how to make a real difference and showing the clarity that it's actually not optional. So it made us ask as a band. We knew we wanted to give back to Haiti. What can we do to support Partners in Health? They were the second largest employer in Haiti. They had created the largest system of healthcare, providing structures of healthcare to the poorest people in our hemisphere. But we're not doctors, obviously, though I have a good degree in a WebMD. We're not delivery experts. We're good at making art. We're good at bringing people together. So, as with singing in a choir, there is a ritual to experiencing music with others that is universal. Music has always been a natural convener, no matter how big or how small, how famous or not, the artist or the venue. Live shows are special. You can smell the sweat. You can smell the stale beer. You can feel the joy. You can feel the sadness. You can feel nostalgic, not to nostalgize too much. But you can see the glow in people's eyes. Just by being in that room, you have something in common. You are in community with everyone else there. That electricity, that energy is fuel that can power change. And thousands of shows are happening every night in communities across the country and across the world. So when we asked ourselves, what can we do to support Haiti? What can we do to support Partners in Health? And also, what's easy? We're touring all the time and we want to commit to something. We decided to add $1 to every ticket we sold, and we gave it straight to Partners in Health. So we started when we were playing to 1,000 people a night, and then we were playing to 2,000 people a night, and then 5,000, and then 10,000. And it kept getting bigger, and suddenly we'd sold out Madison Square Garden. And that meant $25,000 for Partners in Health in one night. By adding a small extra dimension to what we were already doing, Arcade Fire raised $2 million to build healthcare infrastructure in Haiti. Lots of the bricks and the light bulbs in the largest teaching hospital in the Caribbean. Thank you. Some of our fans became funders. We had volunteers out at every show, and really we discovered something extraordinarily simple for us was also extremely effective. And I realized there's going to be another band tomorrow night and another 25,000 people in this room, and the night after that, and the night after that. What if they were a part of this too? What if we could leverage this gathering and community for social justice, for incredible organizations committed to equity, to dignity, to access? What if everyone was a part of this, and really, why isn't everyone a part of this? So there was a tremendous opportunity to leverage the convening power of shows that were already taking place, where people were already buying tickets to help change the system. So with support from my bandmates, I began to build Plus One full-time. And I learned that while artists have always been connected to activism, there have been many different fantastic efforts to raise funds, raise awareness via concerts and recordings. There's not an industry standard for closely connecting tours to causes. So this is how Plus One works. We partner with artists, and we help them identify work they'd like to support. We evaluate and work with advisors to provide standard-setting nonprofits that address their chosen issue. We add $1 to every ticket. We collect that money. We find other partners to join us so that 100% of every fan dollar goes directly to that recipient organization. And we work with Plus One artists and the organizations to build awareness, to educate, and to build frameworks for further engagement. Let me give you an example. One of our artists, this is Flume. Not long ago, totally. Not long ago, his father made a documentary about a very rural, very poor area of Cambodia. In this region, there were kids who really wanted to learn. There was even a teacher who really wanted to teach, but they had no school. This area was actually another one in which 90%, more than 90% of the women in that region had never been seen by a doctor or by a nurse or by any health professional. So he partnered with Plus One in 11 shows he was already going to be playing anyways. He had raised enough money to fully build the school. By the end of tour, not only was the school fully constructed, fully enrolled, but his fan base had become one of the top donors of the Nokortep Women's Hospital in that region. There's a lot of examples. Local natives came to us after the Brock Turner case at Stanford and the incidents of sexual assault on that campus. Here they were learning that 1 in 5 women get sexually assaulted during their college careers. And they were also looking in the mirror. How can 5 of us, these young, white, affluent dudes, do something about it? So together, we agreed to support Callisto, an extraordinary organization that is using tech and data to combat sexual assault, empowering survivors and advance justice. Every single show, not only did we raise a huge amount of money for Callisto, but there were student signups and organizations signing up at every single show, and it contributed to several new colleges adopting the program, including Stanford. The point is, Plus One is simple, it's effective. Plus One is the bridge, the connective tissue between the energy that exists on one side to do good and the capabilities that exist on the other to actually make the change happen. We bring resources to organizations, and we bring knowledge back. It's a two-way street. This then models a new form of accountable activism in our industry. It's a circle. It's sustained, and it's ongoing night after night after night. We try to model how artists should lead, not as spokespeople, but as doers. We try to model how organizations should perform, data-driven, transparent, accountable, and we try to model how fans should be in the world, committed to a cause, and have pragmatic solidarity with the people who need it most. There are, of course, things that still keep me up at night. There are overt systemic inequities everywhere we look, barriers to a fair and equal criminal justice system, barriers of access to health care, barriers of access to quality education. There's so much to be outraged about, but not enough clarity how to do anything about it. There are a lot of people doing amazing work, but too few of us know about them. Climate change is already having serious consequences, and it'll only get worse in the lifetime of my daughter, who's only 4. The stakes are going up. The best way to make progress is to open the doorways to action for more people, get resources into the hands of people who have the capacity and proven ability to make a difference. So Plus One is my way to do something about it. We have 70 artists now. We've raised $5 million, which is 5 million fans, and we hope this becomes standard across our industry and beyond, so that when you go to a show and you smell that sweat and you feel those feels and you're in that common community with everyone there, you've also got a second thing in common, that your community is not just bearing witness to the show, it's addressing some of the world's most pressing problems. Thank you.